heard some comments from Alan, and this is, he brings an interesting perspective, because here's a guy who started a company in Europe, grew it to a substantial size, sold it, came to this country. So he sees both across the pond and what's going on here. And actually, when we get into a dialogue, there are some things that are just outside the paradigm. But things that we have to just be mindful of as we plan for next year and year after that and year after that. Because those who don't adjust their paradigm die.
Stick that there. Yeah, that should. Thank you.
So, Al Binau, I'm going to pass it on to you. Share about your background and start an interesting, thought-provoking segment. Thanks.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. So I'm going to skip right from Alan to another lady that I'm bringing on the table right now. But I call this speech today that when we change, we move forward, right, wrong. And I have to say, this can be a little bit provocative for some of you guys, because actually what I'm going to talk about today, you might realize that's not the way we did it. And if it does provoke you, I'm happy, because I'm here kind of to push you. How many people here like to be challenged time to time? Well, you're right, I like that. We need to be challenged, guys. We just talked about, you know, how we treat the young people. We talked about robotics. All kind of things are happening in the world right now. Toys R Us. Who would ever think 15 years ago that Toys R Us would be in this situation, right? So stuff is happening. And the bad thing about what I'm going to talk about now is not tech, it's psychology, because it's what happens inside our heads and our employees' heads. And because of that, I'd like to introduce to you Sonia. Anybody here called Sonia? Okay, good.
But I know what I
Yeah. I used that name for over 20 years doing this little lecture. And I never met a Sonia. Thank you very much. This is Sonia. Sonia is in a company, maybe $10 million, IT, whatever, service. And she's probably amongst the top 10 of this company. And doing pretty good. She's a good employee, a good colleague, and all that. But this morning, at 10:30, Sonia is not happy. Actually, Sonia is everything else. She's a little mad. She's frustrated. Maybe sad, confused. This is not a good morning for Sonia. So what the heck happened? Well, this happened. At 9 o'clock, the CEO of this company, you could say that's me now, he called into a meeting. That's you guys, right? And down there is Sonia. Of course she's not here, I know that. We just pretend she's there, right? This is a group, I'm the CEO, all right? So now I invited you all, welcome, because we want to end this year strong, okay? So I start talking about, we got 3 months left, this is the last quarter and all that. I probably start out praising what you do good. That's how we learned how to do it, right? So keep on doing this and that and that. But at one point, I'm going to move into, but we have to change stuff too. Make sense? So this customer, we're going to gear down. This customer, we're going to build up. This segment, we're going to maybe leave, and this is going to up. Maybe we're going to look at the bonus system. Maybe we're going to hire some people. Maybe we're going to lay off some people. All kind of changes that I try to tell you about. I do it in a good way. What I do is that I try to sell and motivate these changes, because it's going to be great. We're going to have a smash of a last quarter. You get me? We do this all the time, guys, when we do changes. We try to sell and motivate. We try to use our brains to say, this is going to be really good. What I haven't heard working with this the last 30 years, companies cutting down with 20% and trying to sell it as a win. I'm not kidding you. It's going to be awesome for the 80% that's left. Really? How many of you guys have felt noise from your staff and your company when you do changes? Noise out there, emotions, all kind of stuff. All right. Noise is Sonia. Sonia, of course, is a metaphor. Right now, down there, she's not happy. She stands up, she walks out. Now she's frustrated. Everything she heard. I meet her tomorrow, and I hear that actually she's walking around this company, and she's moaning and bitching a little bit. You know, this won't work, and because of course, if it would have worked, we'd have done it already, right? I mean, because we're not making mistakes here. So I meet her on outside, and I say, you know, Sonia, you have to be positive now, right? Remember, maybe hey, listen, we got them hats that said "End Strong," right? Maybe balloons, "End Strong," all that stuff. Trying to sell and motivate her. Doesn't help. Talk to her again. Say, Sonia, hey, come on, man. I need you here. You need to be positive now. Can you be positive, please? Come on. And who knows, maybe it ends up that she leaves. Or maybe I need to fire her because she can't figure out how to handle these changes. The curious thing is that we just agreed that Sonia was a top 10 of our company. Now we see one of our top 10s maybe be on her way out. Help me out, guys. Why is Sonia frustrated, angry, sad, confused, whatever she is? I'm just going to write some keywords here. Just keep them coming. What is going on inside Sonia's head right now? Louder, please.
Doesn't like change.
What is it she is afraid about with these changes? Fear. Fear of what?
Unknown.
Okay. Okay? So something that is known is taken away from her. Okay, what else? What is she afraid of?
Not fair.
Not fair? Fairness. I like that one. Why would she think that? Why fairness? I like it.
Company's taking advantage of me. It's not fair to me.
Okay. So kind of treat it well. Okay, what else? Yeah.
She was not told when she was hired where the company is going.
Say again, sorry.
She was not told the vision of the company and
Yes. Oh, okay. And what does that say to her?
disconnect. It's the whole
Disconnect. All right. Okay. So there's something about the connection to the company. Yep. Like it. What else?
Top-down decision, not involving the employees.
Not involved. True, but Sonia doesn't see that. What does she see? What could happen to her? She could lose her job. Does that happen out there? Oh, yes, it does. So
How about our stability and comfort zone?
no, I love it. Stability, comfort zone.
She's going to have to do more.
Oh, I love it. She has to work harder, right? Maybe she has to spend more time. Maybe, just inventing this, of course, maybe she plays golf every Saturday. And that's the best thing she knows. And now she can't do that anymore because of these changes. She has to work harder. All right?
Doubt.
Second?
Doubt.
Doubt? Doubt of what? I love it.
When you start doubting things, it puts a level of stress in you that wasn't there yesterday.
So stress level. Love it. All right? That's really good. Let's just start with that. We'll get back to that in a second. Obviously, Sonia is a metaphor. She's a metaphor for resisting change, which is words I don't like. Because I don't think, and that's what the transition management thoughts will tell you today, is that there is another way of looking at people that are in trouble when we do changes to them. They might not. They might be angry, but they don't want to work against you. They really want to go here. They just have a hard time doing it. How many people here have been through big changes in their private life? Like big changes. Sickness, losing a loved one, divorce, move. That's always really easy, right? We just go from A to B, right? I understand why you laugh. The problem is, we've been listening to change management for so many years that we still think that we have to sell and motivate people through changes. And I'm challenging that. When I lost my father, he was only 69. I talked to this dude, and he said, well, at least he got peace. Thank you very much. Well, maybe he did, but I didn't. Right? Why do we say things like that? Because we're uncomfortable. So we try to resolve the situation in a good way. So that's why we have a hat that says "End Strong," and we give out balloons and all kind of stuff, right? I challenge you guys, it doesn't work. It doesn't always work. And actually, that's one of the fun things I'm going to teach you about today. Why is it that the same change done by me takes you 5 minutes to go through, and it takes you 5 weeks, it takes you 5 months, and it takes you 5 years? Because there is a really, really good explanation for that. And obviously, that doesn't help our management. If we knew everybody would take 5 weeks to do it, right? But that's not the case. Everybody's different, but I want to tell you why. Also, there's 2 different changes on you. You might react very differently. We see it very typically in work stuff that we're pretty good at doing, adapting to that. And then we get divorced. And then we think that everything, oh yeah, we're just going to move forward. Like, what guys, you know this. When I call my friend and I say, yeah man, my wife is leaving me. What does my friend say? There's plenty of fish in the ocean. Right? Let's try to get the best out of the situation, right? It doesn't work that way, guys. Unfortunately, again, we've been talking change management for so long. Today, I'd like to talk transition management. And I have to warn you a little bit, just 3 things here. First of all, this is not complicated to understand. I worked with Carlsberg, the brewery. I had blue-collar workers there. Talking about transition, losing their jobs. Being at Carlsberg for 45 years. Being alcoholics, because that's what they are. 60 years old. And you know what? They can take home 1 box of beer every day for free. And that hurt, right? These guys understood it. That's the beauty of transition management. So it's not hard to understand, but I must warn you, for some of you, it could be a transition in itself to accept what I say today. And if you don't want to, I'm good with that. I can loggily praise this because I didn't invent it. Some American psychologists did that. For some reason, it didn't go out to businesses the same way as when we talk grieving processes and stuff like that when we lose loved ones. It's kind of the same, but this is professionalized, so we can actually use it in our daily work life. The first thing I want you to take home today is, does change stand alone? And the answer is no. There is something going on after the change. We call it transition. And that's not the same as a change either. Actually, only 3 or 4 things that is important to understand this, and this is the first one. Many people think that when we go out and change something, then it's a done deal. The transition management thought says that if this change is big enough, then it will start a process. within ourselves. And we're talking big stuff here. I mean, at the outside world, it would be divorce. I mean, I had cancer. Like, everybody went, yeah, you're going to be fine. Well, I'm still scared, right? I mean, it will take some time to realize that what is going on, right? Divorce, moving, all kinds of stuff, losing your job. But even when we go out and look at what we do to our employees, when we come with our balloons and hats and talk about this brilliant new bonus system, if this change is big for the individual, they are going to react. And even within our own minds. That's why, I took that opportunity to talk about maybe we shouldn't speak of retention anymore. Retaining people. Maybe we should stop that and just realize we can't do it. But all stuff like that, you also call paradigms, right? We're not used to think like that. So giving that up is a big deal because then we were wrong. And this applies to you and me and your employers and in your private life. Also, freaking countries can be in transition. Look at Russia. How much change in Russia? Still vote for the communists. I've been to Russia many times, and they didn't really move. So the change was there, but something holds them back from moving on. And that's what I'm going to talk about now, what that is. So if the change is big enough, and it's not like going to the pizza joint and they don't have olives, right? I mean, that might be a big transition for you, I don't know, but it's not stuff like that. We're talking the big stuff in life. The thing is that it changes from person to person. What is big for you is not big for you. And that, again, to come back to that, that's why there is so much going on in organizations, because everybody is on a different level. That makes it really hard to manage. All right, so we say that if the change is big enough, then it will start a process, a transition. Does it make sense, guys? Not if you think it makes sense. Makes sense. There's a huge difference between the change and the transition. And this is kind of what change management doesn't really talk about, because change management only looks at the first part. We come out and we do our change and then we go home. And fair enough. People can live that way if they want. I couldn't care less. But I just offer an alternative that says, if this is big enough, it'll start something inside your brain. Start Sonia's brain, everybody's brain. Everybody, if the change is big enough, it will start this process. It's not something you can volunteer. It's not something you can opt out of. Why? Because it's subconscious. Do any of you guys know how many % of what we do in the daily life, the psychologists say, is subconscious? How many %?
Over 90%.
It's true? Oh, here's 10% here. Usually we start at 40 and say, you're good guys. 90%. You know what? That scares the heck out of me, that 90% of what we do in daily life is subconscious. And obviously we know when I talk, when I walk, when I eat. I mean, when we eat, we don't think, okay, grab the spoon, lift it up. I understand that. When we were on the highway, how many of you guys have tried to drive and you can't remember the last 5 miles? You know that? And then you go, oh my gosh, you could see all these cars driving out and women with strollers, for their lives. No, that's not the way it is, because what ran the car? My subconscious. It's like an autopilot. The good news is that this autopilot helps us a lot. Thank you very much that you don't have to sit here and think, okay, and I'm going to rate, we couldn't function. The bad news is that this subconscious is also our worst enemy, because we cannot control him or her. I usually say it this way, that we have, like, if me, I have an Allen down here, and I have an Allen up here. This is a 10%, and this is a 90. That's just because we save the emotions and stuff sit in the stomach. I mean, whatever. But so I have this guy down here, and that's little Allen. That's just the emotional guy, right? And he talks to that guy up here. That guy up here, he's 60. He's very clever. Later today, I go to prison. I do prison ministries. And I talk to the prisoners all the time about this. Because talking about transition when these guys leave prison. Down here, there's going to be an Allen. I've never been to prison, but I know how it is. So there's an Allen down here that says, first thing I'm going to do when I get out is going to get drunk, high, and I won't say the last thing, but you can probably figure out what that is, right? That's down here. And that guy said, don't do it. Because all statistics show you will end up in prison in 24 hours. Do they still come back? Heck yes. Some of them lose that battle. From down here, hey, don't worry about it, man. It's just one joint. And look at that blonde over there, man. She's just like, no. I can't go there. I have to leave. I have to get out. Some of them do. Some of them don't. So I want to give you the picture of when we talk transitions, and if you guys accept this when you leave, that there is a process afterwards, then you also have to realize that this process is run by a really strong machine. And that's why when you think this way, it doesn't help with hats and balloons. The subconscious couldn't care less about that. So it follows the change, it's psychological, and it's subconscious. You can't, we all try, like we lose a loved one or something happens, we try to kind of force ourselves into, well, it's not that bad. I mean, and I'll get back to that. That can work a little bit, but that's not the answer to the problem, really. Because it won't go away with us only being positive. So instead, we have to look at what is this transition. Again, the transition process from you to me for the same change can be very different. I'll tell you why later, because that's important. Two different changes for you can mean two different processes. That's one of the things we've been talking about for many years, is that you can be good or bad at changes. That's change management. I'm really good at changes. Right? If you think this way, you don't believe that. It's only a matter of the impact the change has. I always joke with salespeople. They love this for salespeople. They sit down there because we're really good at changes. I said, all right, so we're going to do this change. Tomorrow, the CEO is going to take away your company cars, and you're going to have company bicycles instead. Oh my gosh, man, that wasn't funny, right? Well, that's a change. Why don't you just jump aboard? Well, that's a different change. Oh, okay, okay, get it. So we have to know that the change can be the same, would be different processes. Or it could be two different ones. I could be really good at this change at work, but when I come home and my wife is in the hallway with her luggage, suddenly I don't have the power to go through that change as I had on work. Let's look a little bit about the process here, guys. And again, I can only praise it. The dude that invented this, he did a good job keeping it really, really easy to understand. This is what we think usually. We have the change out here. This is transition process. We think that when the change comes, there is a new beginning. Something new is happening. And that's why I call this seminar Right Wrong, because that's not what the transition theory says. It does say that we will get to a new beginning at one point. And I mean, I've been working with this for so many years. I know if you have a staff of 20, 30, 40, 100,000, whatever, I mean, most of them, they will go through. They will. If you have really big companies like AT&T, I would say maybe 3-4%. They can't go to the new beginning, and you probably have to say goodbye to them, unfortunately. But the good news is that we really, really want to go here. That's also why that we sometimes use our brain to force ourselves. Usually what we do is that we compensate. Like compensation, if something happens, will kind of bring us to now it's okay. Right? Like I just got divorced, there are plenty of fish in the ocean, right? Well, that's kind of trying to do this. I had this female consultant in my company back in Europe. Her name was Marianne. She had some stuff going on, so she got her one leg taken away, cut off. And she did these seminars all the time, and she called me one and said, "Alan, I had the best story about compensation. You won't believe this." Well, that hit me. Yeah, I talked to this friend of mine. I called him and said, "Yeah, how did the surgery go?" And I said, "Oh, good, no, I mean, I only had one leg." You know what he said? He said, "Don't worry about it. The prosthetic legs they can do nowadays are brilliant." We do that all the time, guys. We do it in our companies. We do it with ourselves. We're trying to compensate, sell, and motivate ourselves so the change is not this bad. Obviously, for this lady, she couldn't care less about a prosthetic leg. Are you kidding me? Losing your leg is a big deal. Such a big deal that she has to let go of being able to maybe dance, whatever, playing soccer, going out with her husband, I don't know, whatever. By being a normal person, now she's handicapped, right? Big deal for many people. Only when she's done all this can she go here. If I pull a little forward, you will see that I propose 3 things to help other people and ourselves through transitions. And the third is actually compensating. But it is the third. And you have to handle it with care. And usually I would say compensating only works here. Don't do it when people are here. When I went in and spoke to Sonia, and this happens all the time, this is the feedback we get. When we managers, CEOs, stand up and talk about these changes as they were sent from God and everything is going to be good, not only are they mad or frustrated or sad or insecure, but they also think that we're kind of arrogant. You could say that. Like with some of the guys, they went out and tried to sell a 10% cut in the workforce. We talked to these guys on the floor afterwards. They were saying, he could say that. He's got a job. All right? So the problem with selling and motivating and compensating people when they're not ready is that they see us as arrogant. And obviously that's part of the equation here to figure out how don't we seem this way. Let me just take you through these 3 phases. The first phase we call letting go, farewell, goodbye, whatever you want to call it. It's probably the hardest one to get through. It's very, very emotional. This is where all the emotions are. Angry, sad, confused, all kind of stuff. Sometimes even more than one thing at the same time. It's like a pot with all kinds of stuff. That's what I like to call noise. And it's not a really good word, right? But you know what I mean. If you're standing up here, look at your organization, and all kind of stuff, the mumbling is going on. That's a noise. The noise goes on here. The interesting thing is that obviously Sonia, she was here on the first day. She was also there the last day when I talked to her. Let's say there are 25 in that company. 15 of those guys, they will be here within an hour or 2 or a day. A couple of them, they will be here within 5 minutes. With big companies, with big changes, we see it with big workforces. We see for months, sometimes a year, that actually the workforce is divided into these 3 groups. It's not 30% each. I mean, I don't even have a guess what it is. I can just say it will be very mixed. So you're in the new beginning where you think, whoa, this works. And I'm not. It sucks. So what do you think about me?
You're the bad dude.
There you go. And what do I think about you?
I'm crazy, and I have I don't know, I don't know.
Yeah, arrogant, right?
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you want to please the boss and all that kind of stuff, right? There you have one of the key elements why it's hard to have an organization in transition. Not only their individual losses and stuff, but also what goes on between them. Because we don't understand each other. I'm the kind of guy, I'm new beginning. Come on, man, you can see it's good. I know, I mean, you got the balloon, didn't you? I mean, and they really mean it. These guys over here, and we all start here, they have a hard time. So every time you get hit with a big change, in personal life or in your job life, we have to let go first. And that first phase has a lot of emotions. How long does it take? I mean, with stuff I work with usually, it could take like 5 weeks, I would say, something like that, to bring kind of the organization through, if you do the right things. If you don't, you can come back in a year, and like when I come back to Russia, you kidding me? Who said Brexit? I mean, this happens all the time. So look at this as a magnet. The magnet is here. I'm trying to pull it over here. I really, really want to be in a new beginning. I truly do. And especially with my 10%. I'm like, what the heck? I'm talking to the 90%, right? But the 90% has its own life. And it's not going to buy it. Alan, 15 years old, 9 years old, he's not going to buy it. Because of these things here. He's scared of stuff. I'll get back to what we do about it in a while. But we pull the magnet. We pull and pull and pull. And suddenly, we're halfway there. We call this a neutral zone. The best example I can give you of a neutral zone is everybody tried to move from one house to the other, right? Yeah, everybody did that. It's America. You move every other year, right? You know the feeling that you give the keys to your old house or your apartment, whatever, to the new owner or renter? Now you don't live there anymore, really? True? You don't, right? You just give them the keys. Now you walk to a new apartment or house. You walk in. Do you live there? Not really, right? It's like, it's a house or it's an apartment, but it's not home, right? How long does it take? Like a week or two? I mean, I just moved from a really big house to a 4-bedroom apartment. I mean, it probably took me 3 weeks until I came home and, I'm home. It took me 3 weeks. And of course, I didn't live over there because that's not my house anymore. That's a very good description of the neutral zone. And with your employees in work life, they'll be halfway there. They did let go. The emotions are starting to come down a little bit. They're starting to think of it more positively. They're really trying to move that magnet all the way to the new beginning. This is also what we call the roller coaster. This is when you hear the employees, if you ask them, say, how's life? Up and down, they'll say. Which is pretty good because before it was only down. Now it's up and down. So that means one day they come in and they're really positive. Hey, what's that what you said? I like the balloon. I still have it, right? And then the next day, boom, I'm all the way down. And that's tough too. That roller coaster is really tough on the employees. Now, with the neutral zone, there's one big danger here. And that is that it does this. Anybody got any idea what could bring people back so they didn't let go?
Failure.
Yep, that could be. New information. Listen to this one. I did a big consultancy job for a shipyard in Copenhagen. And we counseled the engineers. It was like 200 engineers. And the thing was that they had to downscale, so they fired everybody, but they had to stay and work for a year. That was wouldn't be a problem, right? So we were trying to make them hunt for a job because we knew, dude, in 1 year you won't have a job, so let's get going. Let's go out and meet headhunters, all that, all that jazz, right? So they would go home, and we talking to them and stuff, they would be kind of here. The next time they come in and said, all right, Joe, did you do your resume? Did you call these people? No, because there's this rumor that an Arabian prince is going to buy the shipyard, and he's going to take everybody back. That's what it takes. False hope, new information, being scared of something, and people are bombarded right here. That's why we generally, and we're not McKinsey. We usually say we come in when McKinsey leaves. We don't point who should and how many. If it's that kind of a deal, we come in and try to help people, and we try to challenge the board of directors. For example, what should you say when you come out? Don't go out and say it's going to be dandy. Go out and say it's going to be tough, because that's what it's going to be. For some reason, that's being negative. No, it's not being negative, because that's how it is. The other thing is that long processes is not necessarily better. I mean, the classic is, I want to fire you, right? And so I say, can you come into my office on Thursday? I'd like to terminate your, right? So, because now you can kind of think about it, and you can, that's not how it works. So usually long processes are not good. That's my advice to you guys. If you need to do something, do it. But do it the right way. And then you have to live with the consequences, because no matter what you do, you're going to get criticized. We're looking at downsizing. There's no right way to do it. But there's a wrong way, and that would be to kind of warn people. This is another good one. So I call you, say, I still want to fire you, but I don't want to tell you on the phone, right? So, hey, what's your name? Alonso. Hey, Alonso, it's Alan. How you doing, man? Hey. So can you come in the meeting on Thursday? Yeah, sure, right? Yeah. All right, good. So I'm you, right? So what's that meeting about? Well, I can't. No, I'm not getting fired, am I? What happened right there? He was fired on the phone. So we have to be very, very careful when we do this. And my point is that if you have to do it, but do it the right way. And try to keep it nice and short. You're going to hurt these people no matter what. Because guess what? Alonso just bought a new house. Another classic. We have the company, some companies do that. They say, yeah, we have to scale down by 10%. So now we're going to wait 1 month. And if there are any volunteers, they can come in and they can get a package. It's not a totally stupid idea. And it works to some extent. But now, I'm coming in and like, knock, knock. Hey, man, before I volunteer, do you think I'm going to be on the list? What? Can you deny I'm on the list? You can't. Does that mean I am on the list? I'm asking because my wife and I, this afternoon, we're going to sign up for this vacation home. So if you could just kind of, just pull me in a direction, should I sign that or not? What would you say to me? There you go, right? So all that stuff is just trying to get around it. Do what you have to do and get it done. The neutral zone here, there's no kind of time limit, but you could feel people like, if it's personal losses, somebody we lose or something like that, at one point we will be less emotional and starting to look forward. But I mean, losing a loved one, the next birthday, boom, right? Or Christmas, boom, right back. And that's why I want you to know that this transition goes on forever. Yes, sir, Alonso?
Are you, I'm putting words in your mouth.
Yeah, please do. I love that.
Are you suggesting that when I say we generally, are we managing our business like cowards?
Like what, sorry?
Cowards.
Yes. Let me put it another way. Are we truthful out there? Not always. It's like when our 4-year-old come home with something that should look like an ashtray. I went to this seminar once. There was this dude, long hair, like a guru. And 90% were women. And he actually he did that topic. And he said, no, we're not truthful. We're lying to each other all the time, or lying. We're not telling the whole truth. Like when I come in, we like it. You know what? But he can't tell me. There's stuff we can't tell, right? So this guy, he told this story about his daughter coming home with an ashtray or lamp or whatever it was. And of course he was provoking. But I mean, all these women in that room hated his guts. Because he said, you know what I told my daughter? That's not an ashtray. It's never been an ashtray. I'm going to call the school and I'm going to blow their minds. I don't want them to teach you stuff like that. Because this is not a freaking ashtray. Which didn't look like an ashtray, right? And of course he's provoking. But even when we have kids from the start, how am I doing in baseball? Are you doing really good? Even we know that they suck. I don't say that's right or wrong, but if we take the wife, you like my hair, honey? Oh my gosh, yes, I love it, right? Or what I do now, this is my third marriage. I go, do you like my hair? I look at her face. I see if I can see. It looks pretty. Yeah, I think I like it. Or I don't know. So, what the heck? We have little eyes and stuff like that. But yeah, sure. We don't tell the truth always, and sometimes we don't at all. And sometimes we shouldn't because we can't. Sometimes maybe we should, right? And that of course makes management hard, but also fun. Okay. So we're letting go. All the emotions. Takes a couple of weeks or a month. Actually, I want to tell this story. Back in Europe, I did this seminar for, I think it was a couple thousand people. So like I couldn't see everybody, so there were just like people down there. And at the end, this woman came up to me. I was packing my stuff up and stuff, and she cried. I was like, oh my God, what did I do? And then she came up and said, I just want to thank you. Well, for what? Well, you just told me something I didn't know. I've been divorced for 10 years, and I've been miserable for 10 years. I've been angry, I've been sad, I've been all kind of stuff. I haven't been able to move on. I haven't met another man. Of course, her husband was married already, right? That was after 6 months, right? This blonde moved in. He was good. She was not good. For 10 years, and now she could see why. She never let go. So that tells us a little bit about how hard this is and how much our subconscious trolls us to doing, what we say, the wrong thing. How many here are CEOs? Okay. I got a CEO in my portfolio one day. At the end, I sold my company 10 years ago, but at the end, I didn't do much counseling. But sometimes a client would say, well, you're kind of the owner. I want you. I was like, all right. And it would be CEOs. So this guy came in to me, and we sat down, and he was laid off. So I say, well, okay, what happened? Yeah, it was a month ago, and all right, okay. And he was sent home right away. He got a package of $1 million. So he was happy, right? No, he was not happy. So I said, all right, we talked about it. I said, what did the family think? He didn't tell them. He didn't tell them. So I was like, I didn't say this. I was like inside, what the heck? It's been a month? I mean, and he just, so I rephrased it, of course. So I said, so what do you do? Well, I rented a car at Avis. Told my wife I had a new company car. And then every morning I get up, take on my business suit, and I drive to the library. And I sit there all day, and I do stuff, and then I come home. Oh my gosh. It's a true story. Talking about being trolled by your own mind. And obviously if you do that for too long, it's going to damage you, right? So I had to talk to him about it, and after a couple of meetings, he actually went home, and he talked about it, and he was relieved. You know what was hurting him the most? Because it probably wasn't the money. Do you know what it was?
Ego.
Second?
Ego.
Yeah, prestige. He was the only guy in the family that had an academic degree. He was Uncle whatever, Joe, that everybody would come, can you look at my resume? What should I do this and that? Now he had to go home and tell him that he was fired. He didn't even resign. He was fired. So that's the kind of forces we talk about here. Then we do let go, and I get back to it in a second how, and then we end up in the new beginning. The new beginning is kind of like there's no emotions anymore. We feel that very much so with divorce and missing say goodbye to a loved one. I mean, at one point we think about that person and we don't, I mean, feel anything is joy or whatever. We can miss a little bit, but we're not going to break down in tears or anything. And this is where we want to be. Like if you work with job hunters, can you imagine being a job hunter, coming to your company and being in the letting go phase? So Alan, what happened at your last job? You don't motherfucker, right? Or I started crying. People do that. I got fired. That's not the right time to do it. So we have to come over here, and luckily we will. We will be over here in the beginning. There's not really emotions. It would be, you know what, I lost my dad 10 years ago, and I was really miserable for 5 years. And now I just miss him, but I'm okay. I mean, I know he's somewhere else, or whatever you do, right? I lost my job 5 years ago. I really think they treated me unfair, but I have a new job now, and I'm pretty good. That's a new beginning. So letting go, a lot of emotions, pull the magnet out, neutral zone, in between the roller coaster, big risk of going back. That's why, please never, when you do a change, give any hope of unchanging it. Don't do it. If anybody challenges you, could it go away? Heck no, it cannot go away. I mean, if you say yes, then you made a bad decision, right? You have to say no, it can't go away. Because if you don't do that, guess where people go? And you're going to hurt them one more time. So Alan, you know, you said that we had to cut down by 10%. Do you think it could be 5? Yeah, I couldn't rule that out. And no, I'm very sorry to say, it's going to be 10%. Truth, hold on to it. I know it sounds tough, but believe me, it's better for the individual. Does it make sense, guys, or is this Russian? Did any of you see this stuff happening with yourself or in your companies? Absolutely. Do you want to tell me just one little incident? Did you change something and you could feel that you didn't get a good response?
Yeah, recently I got very sick, which was the change.
Yep.
I lost about 65 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
During that process, I let go of my business partner and opened up my own business.
There you go.
And it took me 7 months through that process, but I was fighting it every day. And when I told my company, my employees, that we were doing change, they didn't like it because I had 2 divisions, the painting and this installation division. Me and my wife talked about it, and we decided to drop the painting division. So when I told them that, they was like, oh, but is there going to be any work? And me being the guy I am, we're like, yeah, we might get it. And she was like, no. She put it on me, and I was just like, no, there's not going to be no work. So, yeah,
That's a beautiful story, man. I mean, we do it all the time. Just remember the prosthetic leg. I mean, we do it all the time, and we don't do it to be bad people. It just makes us feel better because it kind of takes away the problem, right? Well, and that same with you. Yeah, well, we can't rule anything out. There might be. Well, just say, no, I can't promise that. I can make no promises. Could it change? I can't go into a debate on that. I just can say there's no promises, and this is what it is, and this is what we're going to do. If it changes, then you have good news in a week, and you could come back and say, I changed my mind, right? Thank you for that story. So in a second, I'm going to ask you why it's hard to let go. But first, I just want to ask, is it different necessarily, I say necessarily, if you make the decision yourself or another person makes this decision? Is it always easier when you make your own decision? Always?
Probably.
Not always.
Give me an example. I'm with you.
Say you really liked that company, but you just got to that point.
Yeah.
You couldn't.
Yeah.
You just couldn't.
Yeah.
You're leaving, you've got friends, you've
Yeah.
got history, you've got everything.
Yeah.
You're walking away because you have to. Or you get fired.
Yeah.
That's a whole different program.
Very, very true. But it's kind of, I mean, I get up here to provoke you guys. So we have this box over here, everything we did, and that's one of the things we said a long time. If we just make our own decisions, then it's going to be much better, which is not untrue. I mean, the number of times I heard people being laid off said, I wish I went in the day before and resigned. Everything else could be the same, but the feeling of making your own decision was everything. But, and take divorce. Have you ever been divorced and you make the decision? Okay, so now I'm going to go to the new beginning in 1 hour, right? No. So I want to warn you, when you work even with yourself or you work with employees, even if they make the decision, it doesn't have to be that easy. I agree with you. A lot of the time it will be a little bit easier because they have a different perspective, but not always, right? There's one word, I like you. There's one word that describes why it's so hard to let go. That's the beauty of this concept. There's only one word. And if you have that word in mind, then now you can go out and analyze everybody in your company. You can even analyze yourself. You don't even have to call me. One word. Too many letters. 4 letters. Please? Loss. Oh, Jeff. I love that. You've been creative here, man. I love it. When we say goodbye, we lose something. And we don't like losses. Without being too philosophical, it is because, psychologists tell us this, it's because the brain, losses to the brain reminds us of losing our lives. So on a really big level, losing something we don't like. And here you have the answer of why your transition takes 5 minutes. Yours takes 5 weeks. Because your losses are bigger. Your losses are smaller. Maybe you don't even have any. Sometimes we don't. Or you, 2 different ones. The one has huge losses and the other one has nothing. So what you want to look for all the time when you think about transition management are losses. When you implement changes in your organization, that's what you have strategically to sit down and find out what are the probable losses these people can feel. And some of them will be the same, some of them will not. With yourself, when I say, hey, maybe we shouldn't talk about retaining people. And some, yeah, of course we should. Well, one of the losses we have sometimes is that we're wrong, and we don't like to be wrong. So our subconscious cheats us into defending what might be right. Now, congratulations, guys, because you're actually transition consultants now. Because you know what you did here? You told me Sonia's losses. The loss of being close to the company and knowing what is happening, the loss maybe of the job, loss of money, the loss of golf, loss of stability, all that. All these losses, when you sum them up, if it's big enough, the farewell is going to take some time. What is curious about this is that the losses might not even be there. It's perceived losses. So if Sonia thinks that she might lose her job, that's what she thinks. And that makes it even harder to work with these people. So here you have some of the usual ones: stability, knowledge, social. I mean, person getting fired or transferred, the loss of friends for many years and all that stuff, right? Work colleagues. Some of these guys, they had lunch with the same guy for 30 years. Now he's not going to do it anymore. Huge loss. And this is not even the whole list. There doesn't have to be many. One is enough. Our CEO guy, he only had one. That was prestige. So not necessarily the number. I mean, of course, Sonia, she had a lot. But some people only have one. And often, especially with men, it's something to do with ego and prestige. It usually hurts Ben a little more. Not always, but it does. So what you want to do is when you look at these people, you want to know that in your organization, these guys are in the goodbye, these are the neutral zone, and these are whatever. These guys out here, they don't have any losses. These guys here, they have a lot of losses. So give them a break. They really want to go there. They just have a lot to say goodbye to. How do we do that? And I love this part. 2 of the 3 we already talked about. Let's take number 3, compensate. I never say you can't try to do, something. It's like when your friend gets divorced and he goes out and buys a new car or something like that. By all means, if that kind of helps a little bit, do it. But it's just not the remedy. That's my point. And especially when you talk about your workforce, I would be very, very careful compensating before they're in the new beginning. Beauty is that people knowing this settles a lot. That was my woman that came up. Because we like to be normalized in who we are. Because many people in the goodbye phase, they think they're negative. They think they're all kind of stuff. And now when they leave the seminar, they say, I'm just trying to say goodbye. Can you please help me do that? Yes, I will. And guess what, Sonia? She would be through this in 3 days. And she would be the best employee I had. So when you tell this story to people, just knowing this, knowing that we don't move forward, there is a process. And then, number 2, work with the losses. So what you do is that you don't want to keep quiet about the losses. You want to talk about the losses. So if you do a new IT system and it's going to mean you're going to work harder, tell them they're going to work harder. Don't try to invent something to make them happy and compensate. Say it as it is. I'm sorry to say, we have to work harder. But I've already told you why we need to do this. Be truthful about it. And then if some people have a hard time going through, you know the remedy. Sit down and talk to them. If you can't do that because you're CEO, hire somebody like me or somebody that can come in and say, so Sonia, what's bugging you? Yeah, I'm really, and all these losses. 2, 3 meetings later, it's gone. Therapy, if you want it. But put words on losses. Even yourself. If you're in a transition, mergers and acquisition. My favorite example. Oh my gosh, so many losses, right? What is the name going to be? Even the CEOs, are you kidding me? When they come out arm in arm 3 weeks later like we're the best brothers. I was there. They were not. They were fighting to death. So what are we going to call the company? Okay, so we're going to call that, we've got to keep my logo, right? So like bartering. Freaking kindergarten. Yeah, of course, because it's losses. The only way you can do it is work with them and talk about it. All right. I'll finish up. Talk about my grandma. So this is a true story. Back when my father was alive and my grandmother was alive, every Tuesday my father would pick up my grandmother. And he would drive 1 hour to pick her up. And she would maybe not jump, but get in the car. She was 85 or whatever. And then they would drive for 1.5 hours. And they did something. And when they'd done that thing, they drove back. Grandma, goodbye. Dad, home. I want you to tell me what they did. What were they doing after this long trip? What were they doing?
Building memories.
What? Sorry?
Addressing their problems, all the problems.
What did they do there when they went to the place?
Cemetery?
Grandma went to the bank.
A bank.
That's Grandma's bank. I'm like, what the heck? There's a bank right beside where you live. That is not my bank. I've been going to this bank for, 55 years. This is my bank. Now you guys are transition consultants now. And I want you to go home and remember Sonia from this day on. So you tell me what Grandma's loss was. What would she lose if she chose the bank right beside her? The trip with my dad. The trip with my dad. That's how our brains work, guys. And you know what? That story goes on in all your colleagues, all your workforce, goes on in you too. Sometimes we make weird decisions, but now we know why. It's about losing. Thank you very much.